Okay, Alex, tell me about today.
Wow. Today, first of all, I want to give thanks to God. And this is not just being political or anything, because He really worked it out to bring together this group of people. I'm telling you, to bring power blocks from the government, the university, the corporation, and then the church. They don't normally mix together, these folks. So it's only God could have brought them together. And then the expense to carry an event like this at the best hotel in Kingston, right? I mean, with top notch. Look at what was done here today. Black Ink, shout out to Black Ink, event planning management. One word to describe today: excellence. Right? Excellence. A lot of people don't know this has three components: moral values, fulfillment of purpose, and maximization of potential. Today, it was known that even here, we here on earth can truly be excellent. That's what happened today. The event, the people, the speakers, excellent. Guys, you have just about 10 minutes to introduce your session, introduce your topic, and then we'll take it from there. Mr. Innovation, where are you? All right, come here, come here, come here. You feel free to stay where you want, and here's the mic.
So this one from here.
Yes, whenever you want to stay, you can be here.
Hey everyone, how's it going? First, I need to know, is the energy like this in Jamaica like all the time? Okay, okay. Anybody with a spare room by any chance? Just kidding. Great, all right. Let me just pull this up. So, hey guys, my name is Alex. I'm originally from Belgium, but based in California. So a Belgian based in California presenting in Jamaica. So pretty diversity, right? Yes. I'm part of a company called The Vault. So the main two things that we do is one, startup accelerators. So we help startups mostly in the United States, but also internationally, to get the product to the next stage. So big accelerator programs. And then second of all, which is what I'm personally focusing on, is a full innovation consultancy. So at that point, we help very big corporations, but also smaller entities on how to innovate, bringing them the right systems to practice real innovation on a day-to-day basis. So it's actually my second time in Jamaica, thanks to Patricia, who I can see from here from the National Committee of Science and Technology. I was here back in January to give a presentation. Is it better? Oh, much better. Hello, hello. To give a presentation on the innovation genome methodology. So I'm going to touch upon that for a few minutes afterwards. But the main topic of today is how to transform culture through innovation. So I'm going to hit you with a lot of mindset stuffs, but also skill set and tool set. But we're going to spend most of our time on mindset. So I always like to start with Mark Twain. You guys know Mark Twain? Yes. Famous American writer? Cool. So he said in 1897, everybody complains about the weather, but nobody really does anything about it. You see the point? Like, it's almost funny. Well, in the world of innovation, especially in big companies, that's the exact same thing, with like big corporations who likes to talk about innovation. Like internally, we have words for that. It's called innovation poetry or innovation theater, right? I like poetry, I like theater, but I hate innovation poetry and I hate innovation theater. Does that make sense? All right, so let's deep dive. How many of you think that the word innovation per se became such a buzzy, fuzzy word that doesn't really mean anything anymore? All hands should be up. I can't wait. I can't wait. It is, right? Okay, now, you want to click for me?
Yes,
awesome.
for you. Just click
The one before.
the one.
Yep. All right, you guys know what this is? This is called Mavericks. It's the 60 feet tall wave that crashes down Silicon Valley every single year. Kind of crazy, right? I like this slide because that's a great metaphor for innovation. What are the three things in order to surf, or actually in order to innovate like in this picture? First, you need a mindset. The mindset being, hey, bye honey, I'm gonna go surf a tidal wave and probably get killed, right? Then two, you need the skill set. You need to know how to surf, otherwise you're probably gonna die. And then three, you need a tool set, which is the actual surfboard, okay? So it's the exact same thing with innovation. If all the big technologies and all the scary stuff is coming at you, you better know how to surf that tidal wave to get out of the wave. So this person is surfing, right? Are those people on jet ski surfing? Yes or no? They're not. They're surfing adjacent, right? Meaning that they can get the hell out of the waves when things go bad. Now, the goal of this presentation today is to give you guys the right tools to first understand what is innovation then how to do it, and then give you some insights on how to change culture through innovation. Next slide. All right, Kevin mentioned something earlier from Peter Drucker that everything that gets measured gets done. We kind of like brought it to another level of saying what gets properly defined, gets measured, gets done. See a little sublayer? Now, so let's spend some time to unpack this definition that we came up with for the Autodesk Innovation Genome project that we haven't changed in 7 years. So if you have a better one, please let me know, and let's unpack it together. So innovation is the art of establishing something different or new out in the real world that has a significant impact. First, it's an art, it's an art, it's an art. It's not a science. Everybody thinks that innovation has to be pragmatic, while innovation is completely unpredictable, right? Another reason for that is that all the brilliant machines are coming, guys. So all the incremental activities that we all do today through technologies will slightly but surely take over all those little activities. So it better be outgoing in big leaps to overcome those challenges. Just before. Yeah, the definition. Then different or new. That's one of the actual biggest misconceptions that we see with our clients, that innovation has to be new product, new things, new ideas. The 80-20 rule says that about 75% of the actual innovations today are different and not new. So it's important to focus on new, but there are plenty of ways to change the shift between looking up at new things or by just combining and making things different. That's a big aspect. Then finally, significant impact. That's incremental versus breakthrough, right? So if you don't put yourself in the mind of launching things that are big out in the real world, that's only going to be incremental progresses. And that's what machines going to take over in the upcoming years. All right, next slide. The reason I brought this one up is that I know that technologies are not as important in certain ecosystems than it is for others, right? I'm sure that from San Francisco, I can say that it's definitely at the core focus of anything that's happening over there, while maybe in Jamaica, it's less important. But as I just mentioned, it's still super relevant to keep that in mind, because that we like it or not, in the world that we live today, technologies and machines will take over a lot of things that we do. So here's a first list of like all the big technologies that we believe are the most current and dangerous as of today in 2019. But the reason why I brought it up is to look at the sequence over there, ITS. Innovation, technology, startups, not the other way around. We see a lot of groups coming to the Vault in San Francisco in general to kind of like get to know what's the valley, what's going on over there, let me learn from it. And those guys go right away to the startups to say, okay, how do those guys work? And internally we call it like the zoo tours, right? Kind of like tapping on the window and say, don't disturb the animals, the guys looking at the startups, we all the nerd with AI and so on. But that's wrong, because when you ask those guys after the trip, okay, what did you learn from it? Like, what are the transferable insights that you can actually apply on your day-to-day today? And the answer is almost zero, nothing. Because the way of looking at things has always been wrong. Please start with innovation, because that's the actual gateway to market value. When you get that, learn how to do it, learn your limitations, and that's going to give you the tools to then understand the technologies. And if you understand the technologies in the context of innovation, that's going to give you the tools to understand how the startup world works. So ITS and not the other way around. All right. If there's one slide I would like you guys to get to take out of today, it would be this one. These are, like, according to us, the 7 things that make Silicon Valley different. But the most important point that I want to mention is that every single one of them are transferable insights. So don't think that this can only be applied in California or in Sweden or in China or wherever. That's highly transferable, and the simple reason is because it's mostly about mindset. It's about the way to looking at things, the way of collaborating, of thinking, all right? So let's unpack it. First, we're fascinated with doing things that are new, different, next, better. That's true, there's just a BS for action. While, for instance, New York City is all about excellence with finance, Silicon Valley is all about new and launching and doing things. Then 2, idealism. We're often focused on helping people and making the world a better place. That's one of my favorite of all, because that's truly what very recently I think changed my life of living in San Francisco, of tackling things this way. Instead of, if you work on a startup and have like a product or a service, instead of like asking feedback and being like, what do you think of my product? What do you think about it? If you change and split that equation to how can I make the world a better place? How can I help you as an individual? That changes the whole dynamic and the whole energy about anything you do. That's, I think, one of the most important that makes that place different. Then number 3, exploration. We love the process of exploring, developing new ideas and possibilities. That, in other words, means risk assertiveness, right? And by the way, there's no such thing as a company risk culture. That's the most dumbest thing to do. It's all about exploration. If you go, okay, let's take a concrete example. If you go hiking, for instance, and you scratch yourself, you're not going to be like, oh, I scratched myself and I loved it, let's do it again. Right? Instead of that, look at it as an opportunity of exploration, of learning. It's not about risk assertiveness, it's about learning expeditions. Then for action, we have a BS for action, design, code, fund, launch something. That's innovation tempo. I'm going to touch upon that a little later with the techniques, but if you don't have a tempo of keeping things going, you're never going to keep the momentum where it is. By the way, the other day, actually on my way to the airport to SFO, my Uber driver had 2 startups. That gives you an idea of like the kind of like crazy actions that happens over there. Well, this guy was just like touring around because he was trying to look for VCs and raising money from venture capital. But an Uber driver with 2 startups and keep doing that, it's kind of the kind of like energies that happens over there. Now 5, please, 1 sentence, keep that one in mind. That's the most important of all. Ideas. In Silicon Valley, ideas are good until proven bad instead of bad until proven good. That's the second main thing that I think really changed my life when I started working with the startups, part of the accelerator program for about a year and a half. If you look at things always with the yes before no and yes, let's try it out, that changes the complete dynamic of everything you do. And also opens up the gap between you and people, and it's really, try to implement that in your day-to-day life. It's really not complicated. It's not about seeing everything as an opportunity versus a challenge.
My name is Michelle Gabidon. I am from Honeybun. And one of the things that I take away from this summit is that there is so much information. Mrs. Strong spoke about the SME, and I mean, every time you hear about the SME, you hear about giving more money to do, like loans to people. But what I now understand is that we were just basically making decisions of not having enough data. What is it that we were using to really give loans?
The next speaker. Come on, somebody. Put your hands together for Mrs. Mitchell Chong, honey bun.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you all for being here. I think you are special people because you understood the vision. I want to be sure. Okay, I see Paul over there. Good. This is my granddaughter. I hope you can see her beautiful face. This is Jamaica's trade deficit. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the only place we want to call home. There was a time when we all wanted to migrate to the great USA. This is the only place we want to call home. And this is the only place we get to choose and form our own future. This is the only place we can make a decision about our future. Good morning, distinguished guests, family, friends, ladies and gentlemen. This is a most honorable day, and I welcome you all. Today is a great day because it's a day of hope. For what are we if we do not have hope? I came prepared today to speak to you about one of the hottest topics, the SME sector, which will bring us jobs, economic growth, propose tremendous hope for Jamaica. The small and medium-sized enterprises I'm speaking about represent over 97% of our formal businesses in Jamaica and many other places in the world. While the informal sector, those who are not registering their business, represent 43% of our GDP, according to MICAF's 2016 MSME policy report. Here are 3 things that this industry absolutely need the most. 1, and I learned this from my coach, Mr. Alex Ihama, of 6 months. Data. Alex, am I being a good student? This industry needs data desperately. What we see here is some information from MyCAF, and we can see that 1,893 plus 2,553 of our small and medium-sized businesses are involved in retail trade, buying and selling. They're our largest sector, buy and sell. Jamaicans, we are buy and sell people. Here we now see some more information on the SMEs, and this information comes from the PIOJ from Statin and MyCAF. In the bottom line, we see where in 2018, there were $3 billion more loans for SMEs. And what happened to the sales? Those of you who can see the board, the sales were flat. $3 billion more in sales. We researched other countries that report on SMEs, and this is what we found. Canada also had 97.9% small businesses, with a contribution of 38.54% to GDP and 11.8% from medium size. Now, if this is important, if SMEs are important to Jamaica, then we need to sort out some of our data. Admittedly so, it was difficult to impossible, and I have a team of people who are here with me today, to get the data for Jamaica on SMEs. As a country, the data was just not available. The reports received from the PIOJ and MyCAF were for MSEs, which is micro small enterprises, while the industry policy was for MSMEs, which is micro small medium-sized enterprises. I hope you can get that. We are all over the place. There was absolutely no data for SMEs, which is the small and medium-sized enterprises. There was no data on SMEs' contribution to our GDP. And there's no information on SMEs' contribution to export. And export is our only answer to fixing the trade deficit. But there's no information on 97% of our businesses and how much they are contributing to GDP. I am aware that the PIOJ, because I spoke to them extensively, is in the process of working with Statin to update this information. If this industry is critical to success, then we must, 1, get the data. Two, we need to set some targets. And 3, we need to make a plan. I think another spoke before. How do we achieve anything without the plan, without the strategy? It's that simple. Simple, simple, simple. The next section, or the second item, is very controversial, and I've somewhat generalized to make a point. So I'm going to be a little bit disruptive this morning and make myself unpopular. If we agree that we need the data to move this sector of our economy, then why do we always say that the first thing and the priority for SME is access to finance? And I'm definitely hoping we have bankers in the house. Because it is my opinion, and I stress my opinion, that SMEs don't need money yet. I'm expecting anyone who brought stones to throw them about now. Okay. What we need first is data, we need targets, and we need a plan. But too often, we think we need money first. What a mistake, in my opinion. Many businesses are getting money because the DBJ has free grant money. And because as a country we indulge in an entitlement mentality, we stretch out our hands, and I've heard at least 2 speakers speak about hands up and hands down. We stretch out our hands with our palms up, and only too often curse the same hands that the banks, the governments, etc., that we expect to fill them. I got to do one last plug. When I went to my board a couple of months ago at Honeybun to get approval to form a foundation, I believe that the directors were struck because I think they were not expecting it. After all, we're in business to make money, right? Wrong. We are in business to build a dynamic, powerful economy, to create wealth for our customers who can afford to spend more. How else but to build our country, build our future buyers, and to work together with everybody else in our ecosystem. We are like crabs in a barrel, boiling, and don't even know it. Each one stepping on the other one to get to the top of the pot of boiling water while the lid is still on. This might have been the mentalities of the 60s and 70s, when our population was 1.8 million and we competed against each other. Today, we are global. Our market is 7.5 billion people globally. We can only win when we join forces, when we learn who our competitors really are, and build an alliance together to compete. As such, Honeybun has now registered the Honeybun Foundation with the objective to finding meaningful and aggressive business models to support the growth and development of SMEs and the creative industries.
So it's been a really excellent day, a true day of excellence. Really excited to be here. A whole new perspective on leadership, a new way of thinking. Really enjoyed Margarita, Rain, and Zachary. Actually, all the speakers today have been excellent and bring a new perspective. You know, looking at ourselves as individuals, looking at ourselves as the whole. Are we leading from emotions? Are we leading, you know, from who we are as spirit? Just really enjoying this new perspective. Really amazing energy in the room. Some great music playing. Just a whole new way of doing a conference, and well done.
Now, just for the sake of time, let's keep moving here. I have my dear friend. I call her Joy. That's all I call her. She's joyful, she's glad, and she's here to talk to us briefly about how we can take that joy to the workplace, how we can live a life of purpose. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, come on, welcome Margaret Oren. Yes.
Let me get the mic.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Oh my gosh. Michelle, what did you just do to me? How do I follow this? I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to tell these people? So here's what I'm going to share with you today. We've heard some really, really serious presentations and some earth-shattering and mind-blowing thoughts. And I want to share with you something even more serious than what we've heard, which is happiness and joy. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, what's the purpose of our lives? I've heard a lot about that so far. You know, and we spend a lot of time. Who am I? Why am I here? How am I going to leave this place? Yeah. At least it should be better than you found it when you got here. But the fundamental purpose of your life is to live fully engaged with every situation, everybody that you meet. Live that life. And that includes at work. Because sometimes we think, you know something, oh yeah, I'm living, I found my purpose. And then we get up and we go to work And somehow the purpose is missing because we have this thing in our head that there is work and there is life. And I have never understood it. And then we run around and ask people like me to help. Marguerite, I need some work-life balance. And I have one thing to tell you. There is no such thing as work-life balance. Because if you are in the headspace of work versus life, you can never have a balanced life. There is life, and work is an exceedingly important part of life. Because we spend how much of our life at work? At least 50%. Most of it. We do. Even when you get up and you're not there, you're getting ready to go. And then you go. And then you're there. And then you leave. And you're going home. Thinking about it. So work. And therefore, it must mean that the purpose of your life must show up at work. Ha ha. So in January 2012, I was walking through the Miami airport, and I saw this big smiley face on a magazine stand. Now, any of you, and I think some of you have, who have been in a workshop with me will know that I love smiley faces. I do stickers and that kind of, I just love them. And so I stopped, and lo and behold, it was on the cover of a Harvard Business Review magazine. Now, my MBA is from Harvard Business School, and I can tell you the word happiness was never factored into any of my classes when I was there, and my MBA was a 2-year program. I never hear about happiness and joy and all that type of thing. We heard about bottom line and ROE and ROI. So I stopped. And this was kind of me. Eureka! Harvard has finally got it. That there is a value to happiness and having people thriving at work. And you know, the beautiful thing is, of course, because it is the Harvard Business Review, so they did their research and they presented their research. And here is what they presented. That happy employees are 31% more productive. So, and their sales are 37% higher. So, honey bun, you want 37% higher sales? Simple. And for all those who have spoken about innovation, how important it is, happy employees are 3 times more creative. What's the seed of innovation? It is creativity. And it is as simple, not easy, as simple as making sure that your workplace is one of joy and happiness. I challenge any CEO in here who is bottom line driven to tell me which initiative they have, re-engineering and restructuring and sales increase program and training that can get them those kinds of results. Doesn't happen. So then I started to think, well, so how do we get these happy workplaces? And I thought back, I actually had an experience just a year or two after I finished my MBA, and I was running a food manufacturing and distribution company. And when I'd taken over the job of running it, it was a very, very toxic environment. I mean, people were yelling at each other, and cuss and cuss out and tracing and bad word and all sorts of stuff. And about a year or so after, I was in the office, a group of us were in the office, the plant was running, there was this beautiful hum of the plant running. And a sales rep opened the door from a supplier, and he walked in and he stopped. And he looked around, he said, "What a happy place." And that really has always struck me and resonated with me and stayed lodged in my memory because it reminds me that it is possible. And it reminds me that you actually have the power to change whatever situation you're given as a leader. So, how does that happen? Well, the first thing, and I'm going to speak now, your role as a leader in creating this happiness and joy at work, is that you have to turn up as joy. This is not something that you can delegate to other people. You know, like, yeah, we're going to have a happy workplace, and tomorrow you'll be happy and I'll stay in my miserable zone, right? It does not work. You have to turn up as joy. And that joy you express in your own way. You may not be as laughy as me. That's okay. My clients have come to accept me and love me as I am because that's who I am. Yeah. But that does not mean that you don't have an innate joy within you. And that comes out wherever you are. That takes work. Daily work. This is not something that you say, well, I'm going to do it in January and then for the next 11 months we just chill. It's daily work. So I'll share with you what I think is the most important thing you can do as a leader to make sure that you lead the joy revolution at your workplace. And I know this is about business, but it can be anywhere you turn up. It is to be clear on your purpose as a leader. I had an experience the other day. I'm coaching someone who's a principal of a school. And she says, you know, Margaret, should I be like this? Because I've read that leaders are supposed to do this or be like this. And I admire this leader or that leader and they do this. I said, no. You be the leader that your heart calls you to be. And so one of the very first things that when I'm coaching leaders that I do is I have them write down their vision of a leader, who they deeply and authentically desire to be as a leader. And that has nothing to do with any management book, nothing to do with anything that anybody like me and Alex have told them, nothing like that. It is just deep within you. Who is this leader that is bubbling to come out? Articulate it. And then, how are you being? Because leadership doesn't start with the doing. It starts with who you are, your values. Someone spoke about that, the principles. It was Alex who spoke about the principles. What are your values? And how do they show up consistently in all areas of your life? Because for you to be that authentic leader, you need to be that way everywhere, in your family, in your church, your community, in your association, and at work. And then, this part, take your practice to work. I just see too many situations of organizations where their values are espoused, grand values espoused, and the leadership turns up with something as simple as walking in every morning and not saying good morning. It happens. And I'm still dumbfounded that this happens. Still in 2019. Take your practice to work. Now, some days you don't feel in the mood. So this is why I advocate that your number one priority in the morning is to take care of yourself. Get yourself in the state of joy. Take care of your mind. Take care of your body. Take care of your spirit. All three are important because they were all given to us by the Creator. So we have to take care of all three of them. So there are things like reading for your mind, affirmations, journaling. Oh my gosh, who here journals? I'm such a fan of journaling. Just do it. Sit and write. A journal should be your best friend because that's where you reflect and learn. Gratitude, So important to be grateful and visioning. Every morning, I visualize my day. And then when I'm finished, I say, okay, this, Lord, or better. Because I know I'm always open to something better. And then your body, listen, most of us are oxygen starved. You know why? Because we're breathing here rather than here. We got to breathe. Most of us are panting through life. That's how we're breathing. Learn to breathe. Go to yoga. Don't be afraid of yoga. Go, it's just about breathing and stretching. That's it. Walk, run, do whatever form of exercise. Just get your body moving. Yes, I've done my yoga already. And spirit, meditation and prayer. Spend time going within. My mom had a tradition where she would call it her quiet time. And we dared not disturb her in her quiet time. So spend that time within yourself. And here's the thing, you do all of that before you check your technology. Before you bring the world into your space. Before you invite in the bad news and other people's desires and wishes and messages and problems. Ground yourself in joy, and then, trust me, whatever comes up won't bother you.
My takeaway for this conference today is mainly just for people like myself, Jamaican Americans, and what we can do to give back to the Jamaican society and help build our community here on the island. There's been so many incredible facts and information given today regarding business building, personal growth, professional growth, that we can use to build communities and build and transform communities and businesses to help the society of Jamaica become greater. So I was very, very glad to be here today.
Not everybody is built to be a leader. And some people are just naturally born to be leaders. But every leader still has to develop their leadership style and craft and capability. So you don't just get up and say, yo, I'm a leader in my community or whatever. You have to demonstrate that, and you have to learn from other people. So I would say to any young people coming up that have leadership capabilities, work on it. Take the time to understand what it means to interact with people. But today, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Which one do you want first? The bad news is, I'm not going to be talking about leadership. So if you came here to hear about leadership, you can get your refund from this man right here. Okay? But the good news is, if you're open to it, I'm going to offer you a money-back guarantee that today, right now, I promise you, I'm going to change your life forever. Is anybody ready for that? All right. I'm going to help you to think about life a little bit differently. All right? And the topic is going to be about emotional intelligence. Once we finish this, you're going to be able to fix your relationships with your coworkers, with your children, with your wife, with your husband, your boyfriend, husband and boyfriend. There ain't no judgment, right? But we're going to help you to fix. We're going to help you to fix it, right? So, what do we all want to be in life? Happy for sure, right? Who said that? Successful. This man is a mind reader. We all want to be successful in life, right? Now, success comes in different forms. But that's it. You're right. We want to be successful. You want to be successful members of the community. We want to be successful parents. We want to be successful educators, leaders, preachers, whatever it is, sportsmen and women. You want to be successful in life. So the question is, what's the key ingredient to becoming successful? Honey bun. Buy some honey bun shares, you get all the success in life that you need. So years ago, they were trying to figure out what are some of the key factors that influence success, right? And Dr. Nick is here, and he always talks about research and doing research and getting the right data. Michelle talked about data. Marguerite talked about Harvard studies, right? So there was a study done because they were trying to determine what are the key factors to success. What is it? What makes some people more successful than other people? When you're in prep school or primary school, you have some kids in class, straight A's, always doing well, and some kids in class, one bag of trouble, right? Never paying attention. Alex Ihama, right? Failed out of school, didn't pass anything. Dr. Nick, 0 O levels, right? So then it's not that. It's not the kid in class who paid attention and took the most notes and was at the front of the class. There must be something else. So they said, okay, let's do some research to try and find out. So they played this game, and it's called a cookie game. And the rules of the cookie game were very simple. Stay an hour in the room, you get a cookie. If you eat the cookie, you leave the room. That's it. No other rule. There's no like, how do you win, how do you lose, or anything. Those are just the 2 guidelines. So they put together a room of 20 people, ages 5 to 20 years old, and they played the cookie game. Right? First hour passes. Marguerite says she's going to wait and build up her cookies. Okay? So she waits and she gets her cookies. Second hour passes. Alex says, you know what? I said, Marguerite building up her cookies over there. I'm not going to eat mine yet. I'm going to wait. And they go through, and at the end of the period, Alex has amassed 8 cookies. It's 8 hours later. Marguerite is starving, so she says, forget this. I'm eating my cookies. So she eats and she leaves the room. So they write down, and they did it for the whole room, right? And they wrote down and they scored everybody. Now, before they started that game, they also looked at everybody's IQ. And they measured everyone's IQ, right? Because they're trying to figure out, what is it? You know, let's understand this process. Let's look at all of the variables to try and find out what's possible. So they went through that. 20 years later, they caught back up with the same set of people and asked them a series of questions to try and determine success. So, Alex, how are you doing in life? You know, what's the relationship like with your kids, family? What's happening money-wise, health-wise? And they go through and they checked with everybody. And Dr. Nick would appreciate this. They found 2 very interesting things from the study. The first thing was, there was absolutely no correlation between those that had a high IQ and those that ended up being successful in life. It wasn't a measure of smartness or intellect, right? The second thing that they found is that there was a direct correlation between those that had built up a high number of cookies and those that were successful. So they said, what, how this doesn't make sense. Why is it that those that built up more cookies would end up being more successful in life? What does that mean? And when they distilled it, it came down to something known as the ability to defer gratification. Right? Can I get an amen? Amen. Right? It's the ability to defer gratification. And the other way of looking at that is having the ability to control your emotions. Right? Because if you need instant gratification, it's basically an emotional charge that says, I want to have those cookies now, I need to have this, and you just go for it. So that ability to manage your emotions is what they determined was a key success factor, right, to being successful in life. So, I'm going to run through quickly what is emotional intelligence, just give you a top-line view of it. Understanding emotions, because this is very important, especially in the gender equation, which I'll talk about a little bit. And then also my personal definition of branding in business. Okay? That's a added value which you don't have to pay for, right? Okay, so let us look at Alex's head. So I'm going to draw as best as I can Alex Ihama's head. Does that look like him? His head is a little bit bigger, right? Right, okay. I tried to slim it down a little bit. I didn't want him to feel bad with a big head on the screen. Right? Him and Herbie come from the same head-size family. So, 3 parts in the brain that play a role in emotional intelligence. The first part is called the prefrontal cortex. And we're going to go a little bit deep for a minute, but it's really important, right? Prefrontal cortex, the front of the brain, and we just call this the processor, right? All it does is computes and processes. cannot store any information. Right? Sometimes people get in an accident, they have a head trauma, hit their head on a dashboard, whatever, they have difficulty processing information after. Okay? Second part is in the middle of the brain, and it's called the amygdala. Very funny word, right? Amygdala. And the amygdala is really the hard drive. And it's kind of like the counterpart, but it has no ability to process, and all it does is store information. Right? And when I talk about information, it's really emotional information, okay? Experiences. Then you have the brain stems, and that communicates the messages back and forth to the body to tell you what to do, so you have some sort of action or reaction. And remember those two words. So, you're confronted with some sort of decision-making situation, right? You have to think about something, you have to process. Processor says, I have to make a decision, help me with some information. So it checks in with the hard drive. It says, what information do you have here stored in your files or in your emotional memory bank that can help me to make a decision? You feeling what I'm saying? Okay. So that's communicated back to the processor and says, well, these are the files that we know of. Make a decision based on this. Okay? That gets transmitted now to the brain stems, which results in some sort of action or reaction. Right? Inaction is also an action. Okay? So, let's look at this through a story now, a fictional story. So a caveman is walking with his family through the jungle. Could be Arnett Gardens jungle. It could be Trenchtown jungle, right? But he's walking through the jungle, and they hear a little rustling in the bush. So he's walking with his family, you know, everything is good, life is good, well dressed, everything is nice. Hear a rustling in the bush. Don't think anything of it because he's never really heard any rustling in the bush before, so they continue walking. As they pass the bush, out comes a saber-toothed tiger, eats one of the children dead. Right? Very gory, very horrific. Of course, they're devastated, and they sprint off. So the wife is cussing the husband. You guys know how that works, right? You don't like to listen. You don't follow directions. I told you not to come down this road because I know this is a bad road. If you'd only listened to me, we wouldn't have been in this situation, and little Susie wouldn't have gotten eaten. Right? So they go into hibernation. They're sad. They're depressed. It's obviously a devastating situation. But then they have to get out back on the road again because they have to go and hunt and gather, and they have to eat food. So they head back out on the road again. Walking by another bush. Hear a rustling in the bush. Decision has to be made. Okay? Processor checks in with the hard drive. Hard drive says, rustling in the bush equals danger, equals saber-toothed tiger, one of the kids are going to get eaten, we need to get the hell out of there. So it sends that information back, right? At that point in time, and this is very critical, I'm going to come back to it, it releases a chemical called cortisol. All right? Cortisol is a stress hormone. Right? You hear them how the TV ads that talk about cortisol causing belly fat when you're stressed. Right? Cortisol, which is actually an inhibitor. And the purpose of cortisol is it restricts your ability to process information. Right? It's designed deliberately as a mechanism for preservation. Right? So it's to secure you because you don't have a lot of time to make decisions in emergency situations. So, sends back the cortisol, processor gets information, says, saber-toothed tiger, get the hell out of there, run. And they sprint off. Now, as they pass the bush, what do you think comes out? Cute little bunny rabbit. So, in fact, there was never any danger. The danger was perceptual. The danger was in your mind. The danger was based on a previous experience, not current. Right? Now, this is critical because the human brain can only process 4 main thoughts at any time. Okay? So right now you might be saying, what is Zachary really talking about? I definitely didn't come here for this. You might be saying, you know, I need some coffee to stay awake through this piece. Maybe you're saying, I just want to go to my bed. Or maybe somebody need to go to the bathroom. right? But you're processing four thoughts simultaneously, and that's how the human brain works. So the inhibitor is important because it restricts your ability to process information in a decision-making situation.
The speakers, excellent. The information that is communicated is very applicable to life. And I was in particular interested in the last speaker who touched on emotional intelligence, a critical component in surviving this world, this work world, this family world. So overall, I'm enjoying this summit.
Are you having fun? Are you having fun? You see what happens when you merge spirituality with strategy. That's what happens. This is not a conference, not a workshop. This is a movement. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I bring Dr. Peter Morgan. Put those hands together, somebody. Put those hands together, somebody. Okay, right. Pull this. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. Wow. This is a real good church. I've heard so many sermons, I've heard so many testimonies, and we even heard the choir singing and the choir leader there, and this is very, very good. I don't have a lot of time. I have time, but they haven't given me the freedom. In my church, I have a lot of time. Yeah, but this is not my church. But what I really want to do is to put into perspective what I think is really happening. Actually, this is not just an event. This is a movement. And I think I hear God saying to me that He has His eyes upon this nation. He's saying to us today, as He has said to others in times gone by, I have seen their distress, and I have heard their cry, and now I am come down to deliver them. And I believe that we in Jamaica are poised. I've lived a long time. I still have a lot of hair. Hair. That's neither. That's more not there. But actually what's happening is that Jamaica is poised. And one of the reasons why we are poised is because for the last 40 or so years, there have been men and women who have prayed for this country, who have labored for this country, who have brought prophetic hope to this country, and who have even created a generation that can be part of the answer for this nation. And many years ago, around in the 1970s, when I was a youngster, we were really anxious to change our country. And you know, a lot of changes were taking place, one way or the other. But God said to us at that time, it takes 3 generations to change a nation. We didn't like that. We didn't think that was God speaking, because we wanted to change Jamaica now. But He kept impressing it upon us. And then we began to say, could we be the first generation? And now it's very interesting, but from what we have seen and what we are observing, I believe that we are into the 3rd generation. Because when I look around and I see so many young men and young women who are obviously schooled and trained in so many different ways, so many different disciplines, and would take time out to be with us here because there is something burning inside of them. And I believe that what has been shared over this entire day have brought to you some answers that will sharpen your own minds and that will enlighten you and give to you a sense of renewed purpose and passion in order that Jamaica may answer the dreams of their fathers. But what I would like to share is a perspective that is not often understood. You know, every nation, most nations already have fixed ideas, ideologies, and they have studied and figured out what a nation should look like and what a nation should be. And some of you are just like that. You're from the business sector. And the business sector has a perspective on nation and nation growth and how we can mend the nation. There are those from the political sector. And they have political notions as to what the real answers are. And there are those in the judiciary and those who are in the media sector. And in every sector, people have been trying their best. And yet, crime is still up. Corruption is still up. Poverty is still up. Oppression is still up. All the things that we wished were down are up. And then there's a church. And the question is, does the church really understand its role? And is the church today what Jesus had in mind then? So I just want to share a little perspective on this, because there is something that we keep missing. And I want to illustrate it from the way Jesus functioned and also from the way our Creator God tried to shape a nation in antiquity. Do you know that when God decided that he wanted to build a nation, because there were nations starting and spreading all over the globe, and Paul in fact explains that nations are a divine construct. It's an idea of God. Because when God created the entire world, everything he created, he looked and he says, that's good, that's good. It worked. And then there's an interesting statement where it says that God saw that there was no one to take care of it. Well, he didn't look to the animals and the fish and, the plants to take care of it. He said, I think I'll make somebody after my image and after my likeness. And this really is how we came into being. Now, I know we messed it up. But God did not give up, because God still loves his world. There's a rumor going around, that Satan is a god of this world, but not of the world I know. Because somewhere it says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. In other words, there's something that God has an interest in, his real estate. Well, every time man tried to build nations, they messed it up. And then God said, Abe, come. I'm going to make a promise to you. I'm going to give you a land. And the Bible says that Abraham got this promise and God made a covenant with him to make him the father of many nations. But when Abraham got that promise, when he looked, you know what he saw? A city. God will give us a land, but what he has inspired us with is to build a city.
To manage it. How do you manage influence? Once you have built it, I have this client, he's in the NBA, very famous guy on TV and stuff. If he walks into a place, there are people that feel small because of how you feel big. Am I talking to somebody? Now, Marianne Williamson said something very interesting, saying there is no honor in feeling small, not to make people feel uncomfortable around you. Come on, somebody. If you are going to feel small because of my personality, then come, I'll coach you. Because I'm not going to reduce my personality for you. But, before you say that amen, hang on to that amen, because that amen may not land. Hang on to it. But I have to manage it. I can't say because I'm a superstar, to hell with you if you feel small. No. Here's what I told him. If I mention his name, you guys will know him, so I won't. I said, listen, when you walk in, people already see you, they know you. And you just go to the other NBA players, hey, how you doing? And I said, no, stop at the table of people that you don't know, but you know they know you. Hey, how you guys doing? You all look beautiful. Wow, thank you for coming. But it's her I'm going to see. What am I doing? I'm literally building and managing my influence along the way. Am I talking to somebody? And then Marguerite said, some of you go to work, you don't even say good morning to somebody at work. You should fire yourself. Go to work tomorrow and say, I resign because I'm not joyful. What the hell are you doing at any place at all if you are not joyful? It's free. Tell somebody, say it's free to be joyful. Damn. And then the third part, you want the third part? Okay, the 4 people who said yes, meet me at that corner. You guys, you are not interested. You only came for the food. I know some of you. I know the deeds of some of you, says the Lord. You have a reputation of being alive when in fact you are dead. And I know there's no dead person here. All right? So, and the third one, you learn how to use it. You build it, you manage it, you use it. If you don't learn those 3 things, you cannot. If you see, people say, Alex, help me discover my purpose. You have no idea how many people have discovered their purpose and doing nothing about it. True of us. Because they are not using the influence. Listen, the power of life and death is in your tongue. Do you even know who you are? Let me introduce you to yourself. You were created in the image and likeness of God. Come on, somebody. He said the waters will come and not sweep you. The fire will come and not burn you. Am I speaking to somebody right here? He says, I will never leave nor forsake you. He said, you are more than conquerors. I went to Google and I Googled conqueror and he showed me Alexander the Great. Who the hell is Alexander the Great? Who the hell? Do you know who I am? I am a kingdom ambassador. I'm a citizen of heaven. I was raised up for a time as such as this to be a voice in my generation. You want to shut me up? You can't, even if you try. Why? Because I'm already walking in purpose. You cannot claim the dominion that was given to you if you have no idea why you were created. What on earth are you doing on earth if you don't know why you're on earth? And even when I was in school, I was the #1 noisemaker. I was always in trouble in school. And every day, the next day, they'll beat you up for the noise you made yesterday. The day I didn't go to school, I said, Miss, we call her Miss, I didn't go to school. He says, no, you were. I said, but I was not here. He said, but your name is on the list of noisemaker. I said, I wasn't. So some people in the class say, he wasn't. Some say, he was. The teacher looked, he wasn't, he was, he wasn't. He looked at me and said, even if you were in school, you would have made noise. Bring your back. Pow, pow. And then I got home, I got more licks on that one too. So, thank God for my life. They told me nothing good will come out of me. They told me nothing good will come out of me. They called me a nincompoop. I still haven't checked it in Google. Is that English? Where is the professor? I don't know. They called me, the nuisance, nincompoop, non-entity. Only recently I knew what was non-entity. That means you don't exist. That's what they said. Non-entity. One of them said, look in the mirror. I looked in the mirror. I said, do you like what you see? I actually did. But I knew the way he asked it, he wanted me to say no. So I looked in the mirror. He said, don't look at me, look in the mirror. So I'm looking in the mirror. Do you like what you see? I'm thinking, the girls love him. The boys love him. Like, what's your problem here? I said, no, I don't. I should have said yes. I'm telling you, I know my life. I wrote that in my book, Welcome to Greatness. When I said no, what happened, my life took a turn for the worse. I actually became to live up to the curse I accepted. I'm serious. Oh, I'm telling you. Facebook did a lot of bringing my old friends back. And when they see me online, one of them say, I want to ask you, are you related to Alexi Hammer? He say, I like what you say and what I follow your posts, but you look like somebody, look like one Alex Hammer. And I remember him. I'm like, it's me. He said, can't be. Then I called him. We connected and we moved from Facebook to the phone. I wrote that in this book. I think it's page 91 or something. When we finally spoke, by the end of the call, he says, he was quiet. I said, so are you still there? He said, yes. Here's what he said. He said, I just listened to you for almost an hour. I can't believe myself. I said, why? He said, if you could have changed, the devil has a chance. True story. He said, if I could have changed, the devil has a chance. That's what he told me. I wrote it here in my memoir. Another thing I wrote here was, at that time I had a brother, passed away. He would send me letters. There was no Facebook and it was email. You post a letter. I was in school in UK. I'll get it. Anytime I open it, like, bro, send me jeans, Levi's 501, send me money, send me. It was always send me. But sooner or later, I stopped to open his letter, which was wrong. Then suddenly the letter stopped. Then I got a call. Those days, calls are rare. Not now you have cell phone. The calls are rare. And I got a call that he passed away. And I had unopened letters. He took his life. He took his life. So, and I wrote in this book again. I said, never allow yourself to be missed while you are still alive.
When God wants to do something, he thinks about it. I'm going to make man in my image and likeness. I'm going to give them the ability to have dominion and leadership ability. When he does that, he thinks it, and then he does it. And Genesis 1:28 says, and then God blessed them, and then God said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, have dominion, subdue the earth. So when God wants to do something, when he wants it to happen, he says words that have the power to unlock the potential, to release the potential in the thing that he has already blessed with the ability to accomplish that thing. That's God's modus operandi. I want to share my heart with you, and this is an action lesson you're going to have right now. Many years ago, I studied for my PhD, and I did a lot of intelligence testing. And I tested students in a wide cross-section of the nation. And I went to Campion College, and I tested someone. And I looked upon him. I have 3 sons of my own, and one looks a lot like him. And I tested this young 14-year-old. I think I have his grades, his ability grouping somewhere. And I've tested thousands of people in all the nation, all over the Caribbean and so on. And haven't found a person who scored at the highest levels of giftedness. Usually I have a little skew. Well, they're great in language, but weak in, we all are. But this person was so, and the attitude and the manner in which this person sat and listened well and concentrated and was good in nonverbal ability, verbal abilities everywhere. And I have longed to bless this most gifted person that I've ever tested myself. I've watched his life over the years, as I have watched the lives of my 3 sons and my daughter, and I have secured their victories and their successes. I've secured the enemy wanted to kill them. And I said, they shall live and not die. And I have stood strong, and they have been kept alive by the prophetic words of blessing that we have spoken into their lives. Zachary Harding, will you please come? Zachary Harding was that young man. I've watched him. I'll come. Let him stay right there. I'll come to him. Because this mother is going to this son, and with all of my heart. And I believe with the love of mothers in the house, and you know who you are, and the heart that we have for our children. The fact is that we really want to see Jamaica, land we love, with boundless faith and our destiny and all that sort of thing. We want to see Jamaica change. We want to see good men and women at the helm of government in this nation. And God says he's going to bless 7 other young men today. So after we bless this young man, there's a blessing in store for you and the women as well. But we want the kingdom of God to be established on the earth in history and in time, led by God. Says, I'm waiting to give you Judea and Jerusalem, but I'm waiting for sons of dominion to inherit it. So now I want to just say a blessing for Zachary with all my heart.